Welcome back to Star Wars Minute. It's the daily podcast where we analyze, scrutinize, and celebrate the Star Wars movies 1 minute at a time. I'm Pete the Retailer from PeteTheRetailer.com.
I'm Alex Robinson from AlexRobinson.fun.
And I'm Steele Saunders from the Steele Wars podcast and YouTube channel. Hey to everyone on YouTube. Great day for it.
Welcome back,
Day
Steele.
for YouTube.
Yeah. Now we're about to dig in. You had something you want to talk about, but first let me lay it out. We're talking about minute 72 of Star Wars Episode 8, The Last Jedi. 72 starts with, Luke reaching out to see Leia in a bubble. And it ends with Rey asking, "Why did you blank?"
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Now,
Whoopee.
the ripple. Before he reaches out to Leia, he puts his arm and we see the ripple. You had a lot to talk about bodies of water and the ripple in general.
It's so disappointing. It's like there's a vacuum near it or something. I was expecting the water to reach up into some like Steve Wynn would be there marveling at how beautifully it formed some beam or shape, or it just like the glass in Jurassic Park's more impressive.
Well, that's what I thought you were going to say. You were disappointed that there wasn't a brontosaurus on the island. Because that would be... I was kind of expecting that for half a second.
Well, there was the milk.
The siren.
Oh, right, yeah.
The Thalia siren.
The Tallahassee siren is coming back. They're like, "Where's my farmer?" Farmer? Milkman?
Milk person.
Milk person.
Yeah, it is kind of, I guess looking at it that way, because when we watch these in a minute at a time, I don't know if that's obvious, and I couldn't quite tell what was going on, and I was like, well, maybe something will happen. I didn't remember the specifics of it, but yeah, it is just kind of like a little ripple.
Well, but it's not, he hasn't talked to the Force in a really long time, and he's not just going to pick it back up and full blast. He's got to slowly make little connections,
update his software, all that stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Like, what version of the Force am I on? Oh, 602. Jeepers.
So he was trying to do a big impressive effect, but he just didn't. He was rusty.
It just didn't work out for him at all, because I felt like I watched this movie the first time the most intensively because it was so lore heavy. And, you watch The Force Awakens and you're just like, whoa, you're just like on the Galaxy's Edge ride or whatever. It's, it's just a rollicking good time of, sort of looking back as well. And this one, there was so many little, developments in it that I remember just watching this and also 2 years of Luke Skywalker anticipation. Like I'm making lists of all the cool things he's going to do.
I want to see him make water ripple. I want to see him go fishing. I want to see him drink from a sea cow. These are all the things you couldn't wait to see.
Well, I do have to say I'm very fond of those Bellagio fountains. The ones that Clooney hangs out at the end of movies. Like that's I think that's pretty sweet. It's just a disappointing body of water, really.
A little pool here. Is that like a reflecting pool? Is that just there purely as like a almost like a bonsai garden or something like that? Is it like just sitting there for him to meditate on, or is it meant? Does it have a purpose other than that?
I reckon I've just had a burst of awareness. I thought the pool, I thought Luke was engaged with the pool. But it's just occurred to me, and you guys might.
Is there a Mrs. reflecting pool?
No, no. That it's like that's not helping. That's just being affected by his use of the Force. It's not part of it. So I actually. I've got to apologize to this pool. I've read the situation wrong. That's a sort of freedom that you're granted. That's so weird.
So there is a Brontosaurus nearby. It's Luke using the Force. This is just the effect of that.
He's the Brontosaurus in the room.
Yeah.
All right, this watching it by minute has its benefits. I've been awakened. I've got to put away
There's been an awakening.
my mop.
Time to take that fountain, that pool toy from the Hall of Shame, and maybe move it down to the Hall of Fame. Yeah, according to the Visual Dictionary, it's just a kind of mosaic that's set in the floor. So if anything, it's probably not even supposed to have water. It's probably just because it's a damp environment that it's kind of, like a flooded basement kind of pool, not a Bellagio pool.
Yeah, I always, until about 3 minutes ago, thought it was some form of instrument. But I guess it's just
like in The Mandalorian, where Baby Yoda went to that thing and fire shot up and all sorts of pyrotechnics happened.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. So I went into the future, set my expectations very high, and then came back.
I think the Baby Yoda bit was in reaction to the fans' disappointment to this scene.
Like, why didn't more happen with that pool? And they're like, all right, well, we got a rock for you. I'm like, good. All right.
Yes.
Well, I had a question then.
Okay.
It makes total sense here that he reaches out to Leia, because Leia's not only his twin, as we learned, but even before we knew that, that's the first person that he really reached out to using the Force.
The first living person he communicated with using the Force.
Well, even it seems like anytime Obi-Wan came to talk to him, it was Obi-Wan coming to talk to him. He was never just like, "Hey, Obi-Wan," like, but so hanging from the Bespin antenna, he was like his first speed dial was Leia.
Yeah.
Which is good, and so that as soon as he reconnects with the Force, who's top of in his favorites, he's like, "Oh, Leia, let's see how she's doing."
Yeah.
And then
do you think maybe they just cut out, like, the first thing he did was check on some old girlfriend he hadn't seen in a long time, then he checked on what Fixer was up to, and then he's like, "Oh, I should see what Leia's doing."
Cammy, yes, well, that
Cammy, yeah, there
I
you
don't
go.
know what. Again, I've lost several weeks ago. I lost my copy of the novelization. I don't know what it's in here somewhere, but the novelization
text.
It opens up with Luke having basically like a weird dream about his life with Cammy if he had not gone on this whole adventure. So maybe that's he does. He opens up the Force. Cammy, no. Mara Jade, no. All right. How's my sister?
That first chapter's worth a read.
Oh yeah.
If you just want it, like it is a compelling what if.
I say
really
weird and not in a bad way. I mean, it's an interesting. There's a lot of cool. Yeah. I was enjoying the novelization and then I misplaced it. So I'll just have to look under some more things.
Luke.
But then that led me to the question: would Luke have left Dagobah and kind of abandon his training to go save just Han and Chewie? Like, if Leia wasn't there, and it was Han and Chewie and C-3PO.
Yes. I think he's
getting tortured, and if he reached out and he saw his friends, but it wasn't Leia. Leia was safe, but his other friends were there. Would he still have been like, I have to go save them?
Yes, I think he would have.
Yeah,
because he's a hero.
Oh, and he does owe Han too.
Yeah,
by that point.
But that's like if a mother goes into a burning bus and saves a bunch of children. It's like, would she have done it if her child wasn't in there as well? Like, these are not. He went. You got it done,
right?
Well, not really, but still.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I feel like that's an unfair question to ask of our Jedi hero.
I will strike it from the record.
What was I going to?
Princess Leia in her bubble.
Oh yeah, Leia in the bubble.
No Bacta for Leia.
What? That's where we yesterday I mentioned the things that could have been in the movie but weren't, that I think would have been a good idea. And that initial shot, that
floating in her underwear.
No, the movie was supposed to open, with space, and then we tilt down to see what we think is a planet, but it turns out it's Finn's bubble where he's recuperating, and that was going to be, the opening scene with the space and then a planet, but the planet was going to be Finn's bubble, and I like that concept. I like that idea. I would like to have seen that, but here we have the bubble, Leia in the bubble, same bubble.
People would have hated that.
Would they?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the planet that we got was okay, but it wasn't like a big. It wasn't super.
The sacred space opening of a Star Wars film.
Of course. I forgot about how sacred everything is.
That said, I wouldn't suggest it. Just have a planet. It's all. You don't need to. It's a bit in-jokey. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, they do it later on with the iron,
right?
And that's fine because it's not. We don't have the sacred space laundry, but we've got the sacred space opening. But that would have.
I kind of like it.
You like the idea of the.
Well, I kind of like trolling people by having letting you know from the start that this is not good. This is not everything you think is going to happen. And what's that? How's that phrase go?
Oh, right.
This is not going to go the way you think it's going to go.
Right.
So, but I could also see people hating it.
Yeah. No matter what, you could see people hating any changes or any, the way that it is on screen or the way that it's not. You could see people hating it.
But I could also see because it would, in a way. I mean, I guess if you really wanted to undermine expectations, you wouldn't even have an opening crawl and just do something really and totally different. But that would be too much.
That's why I like the bubble opening, because it's playing with the established. It's still adhering to the structure of the opening, but it's twisting it a little bit. But
yeah,
listen, buddy, no one's coming out of the cinema or 40 years later going, "I never knew what I wanted to do with my life, but when I was a young." Child in the cinema, and that bubble came over me, and it wasn't what I thought it was. Like, do you know what I mean?
I'm going to be a doctor.
I'm going to undermine people's expectations. And then you know what he would do? He would totally be the squarest guy around because he would totally undermine. Anyway. Yeah, so I just curious, Steele, looking back a little bit as to how Leia got in this predicament. Did you have any thoughts about Mary Poppins Leia? That whole thing about her, that part?
On first viewing, that gave me a concussion.
Because you couldn't believe how great it was.
No, I was just like, what is, like, am I awake? It just seems so.
Is this reality?
Yeah, I just felt like I was telling someone about a weird dream I had. Like, so I dreamt I got to see it early, right? And I didn't, in the first viewing, didn't come out of the concussion until Rey grabs the lightsaber over at Snoke's.
Right.
Like, I was sort of watching it. Like, I was watching the movie, but I was still like going, what was that back there in space? And because you've got such a, like, your view of Star Wars and how things should occur in Star Wars and the way the technology works and the way people act. And when you add in like a new like power or like angle, it just might not fit in with how you look at it, sort of thing. And I like afterwards sort of went like it like I quite loved it. I also especially love and this is one of the things like that it's just so delicious about the film is how she goes through, which you mentioned it, goes through the map signaling that Snoke ships. Like at the start of the film, Luke tells Rey what happens at the end of the film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's like there's all things like it's just like, oh, so good. Love it.
It's like poetry, it rhymes.
Yeah. So like initially I was just like, what is she doing out there? And also just the heavy emotion of, Carrie Fisher had passed and is she dead in the movie now? Like it was such a tangled web of reality and what they'd already like done in the film. But
in the end, once you wrapped your head around it, you were cool with it.
Yeah, it's fine. Like I sort of like I don't think it's super well executed. I don't know if it can be. You're floating in space. you're going to look, I think you're just goofy by definition. Like at least when you skydive, you've got that,
Yeah.
like your hair gets held back.
I like
You're like doggy paddling to get there.
Yeah. But it's like, like I kind of, like I sort of love it now. Like just that it shows how powerful Leia is in the Force, but in a different way from what we feel. Because I sort of see Jedi, people have this real video game view of Jedi, like you accomplish this and then you get this power and then you're like this and who's the most powerful. But I sort of see like Jedi like skateboarders in that you
Don't give any ideas.
you learn at different rates. Like people learn at different rates and also have specialties that, you know, you might have a skater that's like they can ollie really high, but they're not very technical. Or, you know, they can do like really good hand plants on the ramp, but they, you know, not very good at something else. So it's not like if like whatever like powers Rey have that Yoda has to have all those powers as well. Because like even like there's a reference everyone can enjoy, Tony Hawk.
professional skater.
He had trouble doing frontside inverts, which is like a pretty, you know, like sort of basic trick, but it just didn't suit like his like skill set or whatever. But yeah, I sort of like thought it was cool that there's this new like power that we didn't know of, and her strength in the Force was like less aggressive than like a Mace Windu.
Yeah, I like that perspective where people can, or it's almost like you can kind of specialize in different areas. Like, oh, I'm much more of a like brain kind of, you know, mind wiper kind of that thing. Or, oh, I'm more of a speed runner, like Qui-Gon is a, you know, force runner and stuff like that. And that might explain why you see like them using that power, but you never see anyone else really using that. It's because no one else really developed that. Qui-Gon seemed like he was a pioneer doing a lot of stuff that a lot of people were like, force running? What? You know, force ghosts? That's
he was
crazy.
into the living Force, right? That was the more kind of body oriented. So that might have been, that might be what Leia's dealing with here. It's more of like kind of the living Force, right? It's more, it's not the doing the kind of fighting super tricks and all that. It's
right. Like force healing obviously doesn't come up until fairly late in the game, which you think there would have been other times where if people had force healing, it would have, you know.
And then it was on all media in 1 week. Remember they did a rollout of force healing? it was like in The Mandalorian, then it was in the movie. It was like, what? They can't coordinate the action figures with anything, but they can, the force. it binds all the media. It
controls your actions.
It's quite amazing. Yeah. Quite amazing.
Well, speaking of the Force,
sorry.
Unless you wanted to, I was going to go on to Kylo and Rey's interaction here.
Mm-hmm. The dyad.
Yes.
Dive into the dyad.
Just one thing on Hamill. Oh, I did want to say if I had one vote and I could change Leia floating through space or Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan running super fast.
Yeah.
Hey. They're taking their time. They can, you know, they can pick up the pace a little bit, but I remember I love first night memories, like good or bad. I remember that just zipping off, just like going, oof, yeah, I don't know about that.
I feel like, and this could be my brain helping me there, but I feel like I didn't even notice that they were doing that until we started picking it apart minute by minute. And I was like, wait a minute. They run fast, like, or something like that. I remember like the jump thing, but I was like, wait, are they doing a fast run there? I could be wrong, but
Hamill in this, as we go to a close up of him doing his little Skype deal, I saw Mark Hamill in this film like as Luke Skywalker, like as such a well-rounded, thought-out Luke Skywalker. But in the next one, I just see as Mark Hamill playing Luke Skywalker. Like it's not like this is. I feel like I'm seeing like, oh, this is old Luke Skywalker.
Yeah.
But in the next one, I just can't
Like that's Mark Hamill cosplaying Luke Skywalker.
Yeah. It's such a weird, like, like obviously Ryan Johnson like challenged Mark Hamill. It's an infamous turn of events or whatever. But I definitely feel like it got a far better like reaction.
Well, I think it's more, and I've said this before, but I think it's closer to Mark Hamill than he would have liked it to have been, essentially. You know what I mean? He's better at playing this facet of Luke Skywalker than he wants to be, Mark Hamill. And I think he's fantastic in this movie, and I don't know that he, as much as I'm not saying he wants to he wants to do a bad job, but I think that that's part of what disagreed with him, that he was like, well, he wanted to kind of step in to be this hero and to be, to him not only kind of have the character kind of become this, be this beacon for the viewers, for the people watching the movie, but also kind of for him. He wanted to step back into that superhero kind of feeling, but instead it was a little kind of too close to being real Mark Hamill, in his brain.
Yeah.
It's such like you could write do a PhD on fans' attachment to Luke Skywalker and how his character in this film affected them, like got certain emotions out of them, good or bad, and sort of how that reflects on the person. But I love Luke Skywalker so much, right? And I found like his struggle in this movie made me love everything about him even more, because it didn't come always super easy.
Right.
Like John, like, and it, like, I love the whole, especially when you're older, the whole idea that like, oh, you can right the wrongs. Like that was, I wanted to ask, this is so off track, but it's Star Wars.
Sorry.
So there's that.
I'll allow it.
So I got to interview the cast of this film at Celebration for TV back in Australia.
Oh, right.
And I got to, like, everyone in the film pretty much, Kathleen Kennedy, Ryan Johnson, and Mark Hamill was my, like, I just couldn't believe I would get to ask him questions, right? This is unbelievable. But he spent too long talking to everyone else in the little press row, because it's just a jumbled thing. And I missed out on it, which was a real test of character. I was like, am I going to let this ruin my convention? And I was like, no, that's just like amazing. I do all this other stuff. But I wanted to know, like, Luke Skywalker, when I was younger, taught me so much. Like, each film had a lesson about you can go, beyond what you're meant to be, and then to look after your friends, and then like the use of power in Return of the Jedi, and like how he didn't give in to his hate to become like what he was fighting against. And I wanted to ask Mark Hamill what lesson that Luke Skywalker was going to come back and teach me this time. Which is not a bad question.
No, it's a good question.
Right?
Yeah.
Like I'm not sure if morning TV was even ready for such an in-depth psychoanalysis.
We would have had to give you a special for that. It would have been like a Barbara Walters kind of thing. It's like, we were just going to run this on morning TV, but now we're going to do a primetime half hour with Steele and Mark Hamill.
Dude, that was the attitude I was going in with.
Absolutely.
I got to tell you.
Frost Nixon.
But the answer, if I'm not sure how introspective he was about it at this time, and he seems to not realize, because he hears from a lot of fans that, oh, it wasn't my Luke Skywalker. But for me, it was like, oh, like you are connecting with me yet again, Luke Skywalker, and that you can go off path and you can right wrongs. Like, do you know what I mean? It's not, your future's not set in stone with like that what your sort of past is. And there's like, you can still reinvent yourself. You don't have to be like the like stuck in your ways. Like I just thought that it was such a powerful message that like fit my life.
Mhm.
That yeah, it always frustrates me that it's like, don't you realize how good this was, Mark Hamill? Are you serious?
I think also there's been the internet has made more of it than it was initially intended. His comments were just kind of, I think, hey, I didn't fully understand or agree with where the character was going at the time, but then I think he came to understand more as it went in, and he's I know, I think imagine that, the internet making some minor comments into a huge beef, into a kind of, it's like, oh, they hate each other. But it's, I think he was just like, yeah, I didn't quite get it, and we had our disagreements about the direction of the character, but then, he's also, he's also come out in praise of the film, obviously, and stuff like that. And it's not I think his comments have been made more of than we, than the internet would like to think. But also, I think there's genuinely, there were some questions there in his mind.
Well, I think to his credit, and I think someone on an episode a few weeks ago was saying, like, he's so open and flippant, like he just sort of says what he thinks.
Yeah.
And is kind of sort of a bit naive to being taken out of context and how volatile that is.
Yeah.
It's sort of like, it's always sort of like afterwards, oh, that's not what I meant. And it's like, oh, you got to like play the game a little more, be a bit more like contractual law, make sure you've, dotted everything, because it's like people, it's their livelihood is to take it out of context and put big letters and sunglasses and red eyes on people.
We should hype this episode as the one where Steele attacks the internet and goes on a rampage rant about how awful the internet is, and have that be the big headline for this episode.
Thank you.
Why does Steele Saunders hate Star Wars fans?
Oh, dude, have you been reading my comment sections of my YouTube? Oh my, like the feedback I had to saying things like Star Wars isn't important. Oh my God, people are just like, yes, and it's like it's just it's not really. It's just it's great. But it's not. You can't like it's not. It's not hate someone because of their contribution to it important.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? You can hate someone for their contribution to like the pleasantness of other people on the planet and stuff, but it's just not. It's just something that we talk about minute by minute, Monday to Friday.
Exactly. As look at our backgrounds, look at what we all do here. Look at how we spend our time, and realize it's not that important. In the grand scheme of things.
Yeah.
You can love things that aren't important.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's why we're here.
So Kylo Ren and Rey get back in touch with each other.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of like it. It kind of starts off on a sort of lighthearted thing with her saying, "I'd rather not do this right now." Like, again, kind of like Luke getting back in touch with the Force is
like. Do you think that triggered this? Do you think that like Rey, it's like interference almost, that like Luke initiating a call from Ahch-To out to the core, or out to wherever the like 20 minutes away from Dakar or whatever. Do you think that him doing that then led to some, bleed, some interference, so that all of a sudden, like, this call just kind of gets started and it's coming over the loudspeaker in Rey's brain? He was like,
Or maybe Palpatine sensed that Luke was using the Force for the first time in 6 years.
Oh.
And so he made Snoke say, listen, we got to start speeding up this whole Rey-Luke dyad thing. So have them, let's increase the tempo of their conversations.
Or it showed up as like a blip. It's like, Ahch-To, there's a Force thing here. Like, get me Kylo Ren on the horn. Open up that dyad. See if she can see where he is, and then I'll see you seeing him, seeing where she is, if she can see where he is.
Right. Yeah.
Listen,
layers.
I'll tolerate a lot, but I will not tolerate any explanation using the dyad thing. Like it's like it's not. There's no. The dyad explains nothing.
You do hate
in
Star
this movie.
Wars.
I don't like looking for things that aren't there. That's
one thing I do like is once again in their interactions, Rey is the hot-headed, why could you kill Han Solo? And Kylo Ren, the emotional Sith, is much more like grounded in the whole conversation.
Right. He's like, yeah, me neither. Like, what does he say? Oh, yeah, me too.
Yeah.
It's like, I'd rather not do this right now. He's like, yeah, me too. Like, he's like, yeah, what can you do? It's the Force.
He's like, I'm barely dressed right now.
The the comedy in this movie gets a lot of criticism, and I feel like this bit, it's sort of sometimes Ryan just gets the tone a bit wrong because there's so many parts of this scene that are goofy that he just needs to turn down the goof in one bit. Like what is the line? I'd rather not do this now.
Yeah.
And Kylo Ren replies, yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Like it's just so real world, like flippant. Like Kylo, he seems like he's back in an episode of HBO's acclaimed series Girls. Do you know what I mean? Like less Dunham, more dyad, hey? But it's like just that. I just find it's a bit flippant. And then when you add in the, Adam Driver's body of work towards the end of the minute, it's just a little bit too.
I like it because it kind of evokes Han Solo's, I love you, I know thing. Like, kind of like it feels like it should be like a big I love you too kind of swelling music moment, but he kind of, the magic of it is that he undercuts it by this.
This is a bit more I love you ditto.
Yeah, fair enough. Back at you, babe.
But he
retweet.
This could be
hashtag Lolo laying Solo together.
Oh, okay. This could be I think sometimes it runs, if the film runs the risk of taking itself too seriously is when this stuff kind of cuts it. And sometimes I think that's part of the criticism, that people want it to be a little more serious, just like, where's the line? And it spends time kind of on just over on a little bit past where some people are comfortable with it. But I think the intent was to keep it kind of balanced in this range, and like let it not take itself too seriously. So then throw in some other bits that are where it kind of go back and forth and make you feel that these are natural characters, which was another thing. If they were, if all these, dyad conversations were just in kind of like, fantasy, like, stilted, just kind of like, what did,
Game of Thrones dialogue.
Yeah, exactly. Like I would hate that. And so I like that it's somewhat natural, but I think you're right. It could skew to kind of earthy.
Yeah, it's everyone's got different perception, like different things hit. Like I don't mind at the start the general hugs or whatever, the
See, that one seems way worse to me, but like you said, I guess it's a matter of taste.
Right.
But I do think he goes too far, because he's sort of, first of all, he's doing the gimmick where he's calling in. So that's like one step. But then when he says like hugs, it's like, yeah, you're kind of over too much like chocolate topping on that one. And that's sort of what this is. Yeah, there's a lot to take in this minute.
Speaking of which, we have to address the Ben Swolo was a common thing when we first see him kind of shirtless here. He's got kind of a I'm not going to say it's not a traditionally buff body, but it's like strong but wide. He's a very kind of
dude.
He's got a build. He looks almost like a pro wrestler.
It looks like they used the camera that they filmed the back of the Star Destroyer with. at the start of A New Hope. That it is so wide. The only thing that matches his chest is his acting range. Got to tell you.
So you're saying the movie should have opened up where you thought it was a planet, and then it would zoom out. It would actually be Kylo Ren's pectoral muscles on the screen. People would have liked that, I'm sure. Much.
They would have, I think.
Yeah,
it's pretty good. But to that joke and to that bubble thing that we're talking about, and to the start of the film, and to the FaceTimey thing, they all seem like bad sketch ideas. Like when we've got Adam Driver this week, what should we do with him? And it's like, let's do a thing where they FaceTime. It's just a little bit close to that,
right?
Yeah,
but I should say, sorry. I should say it is something that is vastly improved upon in The Rise of Skywalker.
Huh.
Like I feel like the way they blend the two spaces that are in the effect.
Oh yeah.
And I just think that's brilliant. And I love that they, and it's one of my main complaints is they don't take things and work with what they were given in the last film. They sort of try to alter, there's like, I don't know if you've seen Back to the Future 2, but you can change the timeline and stuff. But yeah, I felt like they developed that so beautifully. And interestingly enough, they flew out Adam Driver to stand on the island or whatever, on the location, just off camera, throwing the lines to get that dramatic reading, which really threw out the rumors for the film. Because why is Adam Driver on Acto?
You're saying that's what started people thinking, they must team up or whatever.
Well, just like it was like when you were sort of trying to work out what was going to happen in the film, it's like, but when's Kylo Ren going to go to Acto? Because he flew out there. He's not flying out there just to stand side a camera.
I love the idea of them like paying the actors just for one day, just travel all over the globe and have yourself pictures taken in like Thailand, have your picture taken in New Zealand, have it taken in Idaho, and people will really get rattled.
Now, Kelly Marie Tran, take this lightsaber and you're going to fly to South Africa and you're going to film this stuff. And like everybody's like, what?
Stand next to Spock.
Yeah, exactly.
And she gets on the plane and she's sitting next to Brie Larson. Like, oh.
Yeah, totally. Wow. Disney Airlines.
Yeah, well, I do like one thing that in this conversation that is important and is a nugget of truth, because Kylo Ren he's not really lying ever. He's a complicated
except
character.
about her parents being junk dealers.
Well, that's what. Well, we'll get to that. But when
anyway,
she's all upset and says, why did you hate your father? And he's like, I didn't hate him, and that is totally like, again, this could have been. If the dialogue was more of this kind of, I'm really happy that this isn't all said in fantasy dialogue, in that kind of Game of Thrones thing where him being like, I did not hate my father, I did that, and him kind of like lacing into this kind of very, kind of
for the sake of our house, dialogue. I had to do it for
right.
That kind of,
He's just like, I didn't hate him, and he's very matter of fact about it, and it's true, and it harkens back. It calls up in your mind that conflict that he had, with where he was like, I know what I have to do, but I don't know if I have the strength to do it. And he's not. He's didn't hate his father. That wasn't out of hate. That was out of kind of feeling like he had to do that to get to the next level of being, dark side Kylo. And if there was hate, that would have made it easier.
That Force lightning, he had to do something to get himself to the next level.
Exactly. Yeah. He's got to always be Sithing.
And he sort of thought that when he ignited it, that all these challenges and the things he was going through would be solved instant. Like he thought
he would just level up, like and you get like a little screen of congratulations, you've reached the next level. Here are all your experience points.
You have to choose Force running, Force healing, Force jumping.
The one thing that is very Game of Thrones, the use of cow. Don't you have a cow?
Oh, yeah. See, I thought for a second you said cow, like the sea siren.
I sort of did. Cow is my accent. I'm not pronouncing cow.
My
corral.
My Australian to English translator is not working properly.
I couldn't tell whether she was saying towel or cowl.
Wow. No, it's cow, because I'm sure if you check Google stats or whatever, the just the spike 2017 December, what is a cow? Because it took the Star Wars world by storm. And I was thinking about it today, and it hit me. I was like, why is it called a cow? Like, where does that name come from?
And
did you look it up?
No, I just made it up. No, because I like it when like Furby. It's a furry baby. Furby.
Yeah.
Cape towel.
Oh, there you go.
I like it.
That's a good one.
See?
All right.
Cow. I'm wet, but I'd like to look Star Warsy and Jedi at the same time. Cow. I don't know.
They should start marketing like a terry cloth Jedi robe that dries off.
Do they?
I
don't know.
And the other thing with his chest and with that cow comment, it's all sort of like you're plucking me with like real world, like rom-com sort of like it's just.
It's also weird because her coming
tone
from
it down, Ryan.
Her coming from a desert planet, you'd think she would see guys with their shirts off constantly. But I guess it's just 'cause he's such a super hunk.
And it's
That's
him.
the idea.
It's
but she lived with Uncle Plot. It's probably triggering.
Yeah.
It's true. Yikes.
Or she's like, she thinks, in her head, that's the ideal male body is Uncle Plot. So
yeah.
She's like, I don't want to see this weird wormy guy, the Sith man here.
I'm not. I know. After this minute, I'm not sure how keen I am to see someone else topless on the internet again. Gotta tell you. What a chest. Got to give it up to him. And it was one of those things that just sparked such like joy and creativity from fans.
Yeah.
As they made T-shirts and art and
definitely was meme worthy.
Yeah, sweet action figures. It was, it was cool. I'm pro chest.
Have we seen any topless gentlemen in any of the Star Wars movies prior to this?
Rancor Keeper.
Yeah, Malakili.
Rancor Keeper. There
Always
you go.
Malakili.
I like the idea that he's like, first he was into Darth Vader. Now he's like, you know what? I'm going to go and we're going to become the Malakili, the next generation Malakili. Anyway, that's all I have for 72.
Yeah, I mean, their call continues into tomorrow. Steele, can you come back tomorrow? Or do you have any last things strictly for this minute that you wanted to bring up?
Oh, man. Yeah, you bring up the classic, can you go back tomorrow? It's brought me back. It's like, yes.
There you go.
Yeah, I'll guys, I'm free tomorrow. I've got a lot of time on the internet.
Awesome.
I think we've covered everything for this. A compelling but sort of a bit of an off minute for I do like this 5 minutes that we're doing. It does jump around to a lot of places, getting a lot of characters in.
Yeah, you lucked out.
Yeah, well, let's we'll pick it back up tomorrow where we have mostly the same characters, but we'll have a different take on it, and that'll be an interesting minute to say the least. In the meantime, if you would like to put on a cowl or something, why not go to StarWarsMinute.com/merch. MERCH. I don't think they're currently making cowls, but you can get a shirt, you can get a hoodie, you can get get a hoodie on, wear it like a cowl. Or a tapestry, stickers, laptop cases, etc. You name it. We've got lots of fun designs.
The hoodie is the poor man's cowl.
Yeah.
There you go.
They don't have a cowl, man.
And then hopefully we'll see you back here tomorrow for a brand new Star Wars Minute.
Minute.